Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Centre. This is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
All your days are belong to us.
We'll do it live!
Tide goes in, tide goes out. Never miscommunication.
So this is my first video blog.
It's over 9,000!
My name is Foxy.
The balls are inert.
Objection! Do a barrel roll!
Don't take me, bro!
It's a trap!
It's time to do.
Okay, everybody, thank you for joining us today here on Phoenix 92.5 FM. It is Saturday if you're listening via the FM radio station. If not, you're joining us here on a beautiful Thursday night here on Twitch. The channel is Nerd Ducks because I decided to change it. My name is Darrell O'Connor and I'm joined by Mr. Bryn O'Rourke. Bryn, welcome, sir.
What up? I hope everyone can actually hear me. That would be nice.
Yeah, man, you sound good. We're still kind of getting used to doing it this way.
Yeah.
But
it's nice to be live in a way where we don't have like a direct time limit.
Yeah. The only thing about it is I'm not used to the new intro. It's our YouTube compliant intro, so we don't get hit with a copyright strike instantaneously, which is what happens. So I had to change it, and I'm just like, I missed the old intro, but if you guys want to check it out, you can. It's over on.
It's still good.
Yeah, it's okay. It'll grow on me. I'm just like, come on. But this is episode 20, Bryn. So we're getting up there now. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's getting to a nice point where we're actually having a decent amount of episodes that have kind of turned into a body of work. Yeah, but it's like, 20. We're coming up to the point where it's nearly 6 months worth of episodes, and even with the amount of because we started a couple of weeks before
Comic-Con
last year.
Yeah,
and it kind of just shows we haven't really missed that many weeks.
No,
when which is like at the time, looking back and go like, God, I thought we missed way more weeks than we did. So.
Well, for anyone who wants to go back, Nerd to Know Media is our website where everything is there. There's links to Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, all that kind of stuff. So the whole body of work is
anywhere.
Yeah, it is there. So we will continue to add to that as well. We're getting up to Comic-Con season now. Well, not like real Comic-Con season, more like
our humble level of Comic-Con season.
Yes. So like Dublin City Comic Con, the spring edition, is coming up in April. That's going to be pretty cool. Then we have like the smaller cons. J-Con should be coming back. Kazuka Con as well is later this year. So there's a whole bunch of things actually on the docket, and I think when we start kind of having a bit more of an idea what's going on there, we'll be able to get into it further. But I did see today actually that Jenna Romero and Brenda Romero actually have a con. Like an active panel running at the con this year. So it's all about game development. There's a whole game development section at DCC. That's very cool. So John is doing a panel specifically on level design, and I think that's class because like that's the thing about Doom, Quake, or any kind of game that he worked on. Level design was like integral to its popularity and playability.
But there were Doom, at least like in the. At least in like the circle of friends I had that were into Doom, it was kind of like this revolutionary thing of going, wow, you can actually have like levels and have like an ebb and flow to how combat goes on. And like it's weird to think about Doom being a game that has an ebb and flow, but for that period, it definitely did.
But more so even with Quake, though. I think any kind of game that he designed, it did have that kind of push to it,
But it's kind of like that thing of like intense combat followed immediately by like, oh, okay, I'm just walking for a little bit just to kind of, and it's a really nice way to like it's one of those things where like it's one of the first games where like that I played where there was actually like a flow to it, But I remember also playing like some of those like side-scrolling story games from like the 80s, and my God, were they dull, because it's just like, it's like basically like doing point and click, but with 4 options instead of like 9 or whatever you would get from like Monkey Island. you know, and it's just nice to kind of play. It's nice to see like guys like that to us talk about game design, because it's just interesting conversation usually.
For sure, and that's that's one thing I'm definitely going to try catch anyway, because we were very good with the panels during the summer edition, but even still, trying to fit everything in was tough. So I'm going to make that my top priority.
Yeah, it was a bit exhausting, but like it was still really cool though. I mean, it was one of my favorite things about doing that con was like just sitting in on the panels, and even if it was stuff that I wasn't really aware of or whatever, you're just coming away going like, oh cool, I actually enjoyed that. It actually made me more interested in things, which is always a good thing.
Well, see, the way I see it is, once you learn something, that's a successful panel. I remember hearing a couple of years ago, I didn't go to Kevin Smith's show in Vicar Street when he was just doing his shtick, and the lads were saying it was literally like one of his DVDs.
Yep.
And I'm like, and he apparently told the exact same stories, and I'm like, well, that's pretty disappointing. But when something like that happens, I'm like, what's the point?
I think with stuff like when it comes to someone like Kevin Smith, who has done, because like he comes from nerd culture, so he's done like when it's like, hey Kevin, do you want to come and do a con? He's always been like, yes I do. So he's one of the few guys who's been like I don't know if you'd say he's an A-list director, but he's like high B if he's not a low A, and he's got like, he has there's a body of work of him just doing panels and him just like telling stories and stuff. And like, if you're a big enough fan of his, I think the chances that you go to see him live, that you're going to hear a story that he's never told anywhere before, that you've never heard before, is kind of unlikely, unless it's something that happened to him in the last 6 months of his life.
But see, that's what I find funny, because when I saw him a couple of years later, when he was doing Hollywood Babylon, the taping of the show, that was much more enjoyable because it was him just doing a podcast. Oh yeah, totally.
But again, they're kind of a different thing, like it's like it'd be like it's kind of like imagining, if you went to, especially if you saw like an old school shoot interview from wrestling with like, we'll say Cody Rhodes for the sake of argument, right? And if you watched one from 6 months ago, chances are everything he said there, and like because shoot interviews are usually like 3 hours long at the shorter end of how long shoot interviews can go on for, chances are you're not going to hear anything new if you go and see him at a con.
Yeah,
like,
actually,
unless something really funny happened in recent weeks, but that's about it.
It's funny that you mentioned that. Did you hear the rumors today? And not to get too much into the wrestling side of it, but did you hear that Undertaker apparently is charging obscene amounts of money for appearances?
It doesn't surprise me. I mean, come on, man, he's the Undertaker. People will pay that.
Oh yeah, well I did see tickets for his UK appearance, something like €300 or €400, and it's like, no, I'm not going to pay that,
Yeah, but people will. Like, people will. It's the Undertaker. Like,
he's
he's one of the most protected, gimmicks, and it's so hard to find. Like, it's so hard to find out of character interviews and stuff with him. That like, I think there are people who. They're like his fan base is legitimately huge.
Yeah,
and it doesn't look. I'm not saying I'm going to spend that kind of money. Absolutely not. I'd be a crazy person too.
Well, look,
at the same time, some people who love him would gladly spend that kind of money.
Well, look, we have some people in the chat, guys. How much would you pay to go see somebody? Would you pay over €100 to go to see somebody like a comic book writer or wrestler or whatever? The most I would pay would be about €40. That's about it, realistically. It's just because you're not going to meet them, and maybe if you do, and again, this €300 isn't to meet the Undertaker. It's literally just to be in the room with him. It's like, that's
totally.
Much,
Like, I think Okay, so like if someone said if I had to put a monetary value on C on like being in the same room as like, I mean like for me it'd be like if it was like pay €100 to be in the same room as like to be in an intimate setting with the band members from Tool, I'd be like, yeah, €100 well worth that.
Yeah, totally fair. Yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah.
Like that's totally for me. That's totally worth it. It's my favorite band of all time, so I'm happy to spend that kind of money. But if they're going like, well, would you spend €150? I'd be like, I guess I would. Would you spend €200? Probably not.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I would just kind of get priced out at that point. And they're my favorite band of all time. I'm not spending £200 on them. Like
it's like enough is enough. It's kind of like that that whole mess with
175 either. Like it's
well, dude. Here's the thing. I think with everything, putting money on it and exploiting fandoms is kind of like becoming more prevalent by the day. Like Fallout 76 is like a prime example of that, where
yeah, totally,
pretty much everything that happened. It's been covered ad nauseum online, but everything that happened with the development of that game, with the special edition, all just kind of went to hell, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. Now, apparently in Germany, they're actually giving away Fallout 76 with a controller. So if you buy a controller in GameStop, they'll give you a free copy of Fallout 76.
It doesn't surprise me because, like, I mean, outside of everything bad that's happened with Fallout 76, like I would say that I'm a fan of Fallout, but I wouldn't say I'm the biggest fan of it either. But like, I don't think I've ever met anyone who's like, oh, I love Fallout. I don't think I've ever met anyone who's like, oh, I love Fallout, but you know what I really wish Fallout had? I wish it had multiplayer. I have never heard anyone say that.
It'd be like Fallout for the story.
Let alone having MMO. Like,
It's just completely misguided. But like I was a big fan of the Elder Scrolls Online either.
Yeah, I mean, the Elder Scrolls Online is a fine MMO. I don't think it's like, I'm not the biggest fan of MMOs in general, to be fair. But like, I mean, it's a fine MMO. I don't think it's like amazing, but I mean, I know people who really enjoy the online aspect of it, but I'm also like, well, just like if you're that into it, just get the mods for Skyrim, because like you can go to a lot of these places in the mods.
It's the same kind of thing,
and like a lot of the content is already kind of like, people find ways to just shoehorn it into the mods for Skyrim, and it's kind of like, I mean, MMOs are just one thing I've never really gotten into, just because I feel like that they're usually really good single player campaigns that have been ruined by other people being there.
Well, that's well, the only kind of MMO outside of obviously playing World of Warcraft and stuff, which I did for a while, but nothing too hardcore, was Star Wars: The Old Republic. So,
yeah, The Old Republic was pretty good. It
was pretty good, but it was plagued by that feeling, by two sets of connected but separate feelings. One, well, as you were saying, this is a cool story, but it's ruined by other people being here. And also, why isn't this just Knights of the Republic 3? Like, what's wrong with that? Now, we got an answer to that actually this week. We found out why there wasn't a Knights of the Republic 3, and it's because apparently even it was picked up when EA picked up the license. EA have been killing it.
Yeah.
Any suggestion? Like, no. And this is something that has been going on pretty much since the Disney buyout of LucasArts and Lucasfilm. So that's why we haven't got Knights of the Republic 3, because EA don't want you to have. But on that connection, there is a new.
Apparently, there's no data that people play single player games.
Well, here's the thing: there is a new game coming out that looks like it's going to be single player. Like, okay, like two or three different games have been cancelled, but Star Wars Fallen Jedi apparently is the one that's coming out in October.
Yeah.
And that doesn't look like it's going to be multiplayer. It probably will have a multiplayer element to it, but the story driven one by the creators of Uncharted was killed off there like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and that's that was massively disappointing, because like I think when it comes to the way, like, it's interesting because there was that thing about the about Disney, they were saying that they were actually pretty happy with the way that the EA were using the Star Wars license.
Insane. That's insane for so many reasons.
Yeah. At the same time, though, like I think it's very telling when they basically had their statement on it was basically them shrugging their shoulders and going, "We're really bad at making games. Oh, at least they're making some games."
Yeah.
Like, it's like.
I know.
Okay,
no, hold on. The actual statement.
I'm a bad storyteller and a bad writer, but at this same time, I wouldn't look at what Stephen King does, and I wouldn't look at some of the drivel Stephen King writes and go, "Well, at least he writes books," you know.
The actual statement from Disney was, EA has been good for Star Wars games. And I don't know what they're looking at. Like, look, did I like Battlefront? Kinda. Yeah. Did I like Battlefront 2? Not really. Do I like it now? Yeah. If you actually pick up Battlefront 2 now, the game is actually pretty much what they marketed it to be in the first place. It's a complete Star Wars game and gets better with every upgrade. But it's like that's not like good for the Star Wars games. You know, it's so repetitive, and it's just samey. Like, it took them 2 attempts to pump out an okay game. You know, okay. You know, one of the best things if you want to see how good Star Wars games actually were, pick up an Xbox and just go through the original Xbox library. You know, sorry for interrupting you. Are all the Star Wars games good? No, but you know, there's
most of them are.
Yeah, like it even has the Jedi Knight series as well, and that's probably the best one.
But I mean, even if you have a PC, most of those games are on there too.
Very true, on Steam. Yeah,
you know, I mean, like, I'm even trying to think of games where like that's like, in hindsight, that was actually a bad game. Like, Shadows of the Empire is a game that I loved when I was a kid.
Yeah, me too.
But my God, has it aged badly? Like, it aged so badly.
Yeah.
But it has this auto aim setting in it, and like, dude, you really just are hoping he's
look, Dash Randar is super cool. Like, he is a cool character, but you're like, oh, you're playing it, and for me, you know, they pulled me in with Hoth. You know, that the first level being a Hoth.
Oh man, yeah, that's so great.
And it was the first time that you could actually kind of like play that at home.
Yeah.
But when you go back and you're just like, you know what? I'm going to play literally any other Star Wars game that has Hoth in it because the handling is so much better. But, you know, for its time. And the book,
it's
the actual book that they released is quite good too. I don't know if you read that or not, have you?
No, I never got a chance to read it.
It's very good.
That game was great. Like, the one thing that was really nice about that game was that, like, it had a really nice level of variance in it, because you like have in Hoth, like, there was 2 levels in it, because like you had the snow speeder stuff, which I remember being really fun. But in hindsight, but then I remember it being really fun, and then playing going like, this is painful. And then like you actually have the level where you're playing as Dash trying to escape, and that's really fun.
That was cool. You know, and I do have to say, for what they did on the N64, it is kind of like landmark. You know, actually, there's a game that came out. I don't know if you've played it, but it's only for the it's only for the PC and for the N64. It's called Battle for Naboo. Have you played it?
No, never.
I picked it up. I paid €60 for it, and I have it just for collection because I like to collect Star Wars games. And it's not bad. No, it's not. But no, it's not. No, it's not great, and it's not worth €60. But it's the progenitor to the Rogue Squadron series, or like
cool.
as it was moving in, cool. Because
that's really cool.
LucasArts signed a deal exclusively for 3 games. One of them was the first Rogue Squadron game, and then they kind of moved on to the GameCube. But before that, they had to pump out another game, so they pumped out Battle for Naboo, and it's okay. You know, I would just say, you know, pull up Rogue Squadron, any of them on the GameCube, and you'll have a better experience. But you know, Battlefront 2, it's getting there. It's very slowly getting there.
It's still nowhere near as good as the actual original Battlefront 2, unfortunately.
Yeah, but not for the reasons that people were saying. Like, I remember.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
I mean, but they had to like rebalance the game and take out all the stuff that was controversial.
Yeah.
Um,
Like the loot boxes and the loot crates and the gambling and all that kind of stuff. That
call me crazy. I think it's a bit weird when a game that's 13 years a senior of a game, it plays better.
But you know what's
that's
even
just me though.
But you know what's even crazy though, Bryn? People are still modding it, and the mods are actually supported, and the mods make it great. There actually was an Xbox mod that you can't get anymore because the website's taken down. Thanks Nintendo for that, by the way. You could actually like get it, and it's a hyper version of Battlefront 2. It has like mods from every era, including the Old Republic. So you can actually play.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you can play with Old Republic heroes. So you're just going around slaying people as like Revan. It's
That's
like
very cool.
That's very cool. But there you go, dude. Like, there's so much money in this that EA just haven't realized there's money in.
But this is like this is the thing that we've talked about on the air and off the air before as well, is that like this Star Wars IP, because of like I mean, it's one of those things where I'm not the biggest fan of I'm not the biggest supporter, I should say, of the expanded universe, but my God, it just is a license to print money.
Yeah.
If you just, because like, I mean, look, it's one of those things where you go, well, I mean, it's a bunch of people who've put a good body of work into creating a massive amount of lore, and to get the best possible groundswell support, you might as well use it. Like, I don't understand this.
They were using bits and pieces for it.
Going like, yeah, totally.
Yeah, like,
but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Like, it's weird where you're going like, I know what we'll do. We won't give people what they want. That way they'll get outraged and that'll get more clicks for hype. And you're like, I don't know if
Yeah, Bryn's kind of dropped on us there. We'll wait for him to come back.
Just make smaller, simpler games and not really try to shoehorn in like these massive multiplayer experiences.
Like, here's the thing, like,
pretty much predominantly. Yep.
Yeah, sorry, the internet's gone a bit crazy there. You dropped on us for a minute, but you came back. I do agree with you.
Yeah.
Like, I personally value the smaller story-driven games over a multiplayer extravaganza, because not only it becomes watered down, and we're seeing this now with the almost death of FPSs, like your Battlefronts, so your Battlefields and your Call of Duties now into more kind of like battle royale games like Fortnite and stuff. Where
well, it's that games as a service thing.
Yeah,
and like, I mean, also like on one side, it's one of those things where I kind of wrestle against it, because like, look, multiplayer games aren't my scene whatsoever, but I do see the value in it, just because I see how much people enjoy specific ones, like the love people have for Overwatch. There's no way in hell I would want to deprive someone from that experience, because if they love it, why would I say, oh well, that's a bad thing, right? But I think that it's one of those things where I'd say like there's a time and a place for it, in the same way that like there's a time and a place for sports games.
Oh yeah,
and I don't necessarily like
every dude.
As far as I'm concerned, making a single player FIFA game would be as bad a move as making a multiplayer Fallout game.
Yeah, like that would kind of completely defeat the purpose. And I think until people realize that there isn't a one size fit all kind of thing, it needs to be addressed. And going forward with this kind of, if you just release one game a year, it'll be grand.
Different tastes and stuff like.
Well, that was the great thing about the Star Wars games. Star Wars games always catered for all kinds of tastes.
But it's like, it's. Yeah, I mean, but that was also the thing as well, is that like, I think it's something that maybe this is me with rose tinted glasses, but I do feel like previous generations of games catered to more tastes because they weren't really trying to sell. Like, what was it? There was a thing that came out recently as well about Star Wars where Unreal 2 underperformed because it only sold 3.5 million units. When they expected to sell 4.5 million units, and you're like, that's still an amazing amount of games to sell. 3.5 million units. Good Lord. Like, I mean, that would be you look at almost any retail, like something that sells in retail, and 3.5 million units is a good amount of sales.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I don't think I'll ever really understand. And I think it's like, when you look back at like, the mid 90s to early 2000s, and you look at the kind of the variants in games that existed, like, and like even just talking about like the single player games, where you could go, well, you started off with like Spyro the Dragon, and then there was also Metal Gear Solid, and then there was also Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, and then there was also like Parappa the Rapper, and they're all entirely different gaming experiences. That's it within a period of what, 3-4 years?
But like the amount of games,
crazy.
The amount of games that have come out that just are very similar, and that's one thing that like I find myself. I stream a lot on this channel because I enjoy streaming, and I think it's a cool feature to have in modern games. But a lot of them are very similar. A lot of the PS4 games are kind of the same game over and over again. But then again, a lot of the PS2 games are very similar. If you're playing... I was playing Tony Hawk's 4 there recently, and it struck me how similar to Bully it was like. But at least it had its own atmosphere and its own character. That's not something that modern games seem to have. You know the way?
Yeah, well, it's weird because like sometimes it's like it really does depend on the game. I think that the kind of games that you're comparing. Yeah, because like I think because it's one of those things I would try to avoid doing is making assumptions about like one generation was better than the other. Like there's like that infamous meme where it's like comparing Another One Bites the Dust by Queen to Girls Run the World by Beyonce. And it's like you can easily cherry pick songs that go the other way to make new music seem better than the old music. Like you put Pink Floyd's Bike up against like by Ed Sheeran, like, music from the late sucks. Like there's no way that it's just easy to kind of make those kind of assumptions.
Yeah.
But I think like I don't know. I think when it comes to the way games are now as well, is that like because I mean, it's simple things like in almost any game you play where there's going to be gunplay, that the right trigger or two is going to be the firing gun. That like you're going to be using iron sights with probably or one or the right bumper. These are things you're going to be doing. Like whereas that wasn't always the way. And
like what you're saying is correct, and I wasn't trying to compare the two. I'm just saying that like for every period of gaming, it shares very similar features. And it's weird because nowadays the features that it shares are more similar than ever before. Like for example, it seems like everything's a sandbox. You know, everything has like the amount of. I find myself playing games and I'm watching a character run, and I'm like, I've seen this way too many times, you know, and it's just like I want something different.
Yeah, I mean, like sandbox has really become a thing where you go like another like. Do you remember when a sandbox was a breath of fresh air?
Yes, I
in
do.
Gaming,
I do.
Like,
I remember it was a revelation from the gods, and now it's a curse.
I still remember playing Grand Theft Auto 3 going, I can go anywhere? Yeah. As long as you don't go over those bridges, and then like you get your wanted level automatically becomes 4 stars, and you're like, well, I just won't do that then. Yeah. I'll just stay here. But I can go just about anywhere here. Yeah. Until like, you know, missions take you okay, cool. That's very surprising and very cool. And like, you know, that's one of those things that I find crazy about games now is that like I think especially with like the bigger publishers, they have fallen into this trap of just giving very samey experiences. Like Ubisoft is like the king of this. You know, it doesn't matter if you're playing Assassin's Creed or Far Cry or I'm trying to think what one of the other big franchise games is, but
Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Watch Dogs.
Yep.
Anything with Ubisoft on it is going to feel very similar. But it's not only that, man. Like, I would agree with you if it was that the case, but any kind of game, like, I'm just looking at my PS4 library here, and with the exception of the remastered games and Spider-Man, they're all very similar.
Yeah, and like even then, I mean, Spider-Man is like Spider-Man's a sandbox, but to be fair, I think that Spider-Man deserves to be a sandbox. It just makes more sense for the way that the for the game design of it to be a sandbox. But I don't see a necessity for a lot of games to have a sandbox for it, because like, I mean, you look at something like, especially with the way that a lot of these games go, where they just like they throw fast travel points everywhere, and you're like, if you're going to do fast travel points that frequently, don't even bother having a sandbox. What's the point?
That's that kind of thing happened with Arkham Asylum, where it was just like, this is silly now, you know. We don't need this.
Like Arkham wasn't a big map either.
No. It wasn't. You could actually
travel, as far as I'm concerned, as well, in a Metroidvania game like Arkham, really doesn't need to have fast travel points. No. It's kind of traveling through the map should be its own level of fun.
True, it should be part of the experience rather than just let's do this. But there is some light at the end of the tunnel. Last week we mentioned the PS4 bundle. I don't know if you had a chance to pick it up, Bryn, but
no, I literally did not have a chance to pick it up.
It's worth it. I think it is. No, it is still there. It's there for another 4 days. So it still should be there when this comes out on Phoenix FM. It's definitely worth it. I had a couple of games that I've been looking at for a while now. I did have a few before, but the Talos Principle it had, and I've been looking to buy that game for over a year now. I just didn't want to pay full money for it, you know, because I was like, oh, it could be bad, it could not be. Actually, here's a weird coincidence. Hello Greedo, I don't know if you follow Hello Greedo or not, but he's actually going to stream KOTOR tonight, so that's kind of weird that we're talking about it. Great minds think alike. Okay, so you're listening to the podcast and you're wondering, well, what if I want to listen live and I'm not in Ireland? Well, don't worry, go over to www.nerdtoknowmedia.com. On the webpage at the bottom, there is a link to the Phoenix FM stream. Check out the details of the show you want to listen to, and you'll be able to catch us live. Don't forget to tweet in nerd2, the number 2, no 92.5, and of course you can contact us via the contact tab on the website over on nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Centre, this is Phoenix FM.
Yep.
Alright guys, for anyone who was joining us on the stream, very sorry, we had to kill the stream because we had technical issues. Speaking of technical issues, I had some
Oh, what a segue.
I know, right? By the way, I will put this up on this. I will live stream this show again for people on Twitch.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I got the WWE Network recently again, and I was like, okay, this is cool. It's working. The show's good. I'm not upset or anything. That's fine. And then I went to go watch it on my tablet, and I have an Android tablet. I have a couple of tablets, but they're all Android tablets, and I got a specific one that I use all the time. And it wouldn't work. Right? So I was like, okay.
Like at all, or
Yeah. So the way the WWE Network on the Android app works is you have to have your locations enabled, and then it logs in and all that kind of stuff. So what happens is it's getting stuck on this location screen, and it doesn't move. Now, it worked one time when I knocked off the locations, and then it worked until I turned it off.
Mm-hmm.
Which, according to WWE support, isn't supposed to happen. They said it's impossible for it to happen, despite the fact that it happened. So
Yeah.
So I wrote a very thorough report, and I was like, hey, look, this is the situation. Here's all your specs. Here's what you need. Can you just tell me if this works or not, or if this is, possible? I got an email about a day later. What is the problem? Okay. So I repeated the problem, and then he's like, oh, okay. Okay, well, could you tell us what version of Android you use? And I'm like, it was already in the thing, but here you go. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'll use the live chat function. So I went in a live chat with them.
Yeah.
And like, oh, okay, we value your this and the other. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure.
Standard customer service.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, here's the issue. Can you just tell me if there's something wrong with my device? Is it my device specific, or is this a known problem? Because at the moment I can't actually use this on the device I bought it for. So I get palmed off, and then I get another reply the day later, and it's been escalated at this point.
Oh, for God's sake.
And it's like, hey, if you try turning off the locations and turn them on again, that will fix it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what? No, that's not. And so I took a video of it to show that doesn't fix it. I recorded the screen. And then I get another email back with the exact same thing again. I'm like, okay, this is just generic. So then I used the chat function again. I was like, here, look, listen, this has been going on for over a week and a half. I don't even know if it's an issue or not. So the girl I got there was actually pretty cool, and she's like, hey, look, it's probably just the device. It's just not working, whatever. That's it. Apparently there is some issues with Android 7 with the WWE Network. Okay. So Nuga has some issues apparently. But that wasn't the issue. The issue was how bad WWE support actually is. It's atrocious.
Yeah.
Now they do outsource it. Now, so I don't know who I was talking to. It could have been anyone, and when you outsource support, you get what you pay for. And this seems to be the case. That's what's going on here. One of the worst support experiences I've ever had in my life was WWE Network.
Yeah.
It took me a week and a half to get a straight answer. Or actually, not even to get a straight answer. It took me 4 days to actually get them to understand what my question was or my issue was.
Yeah, that's not great.
Yeah.
That's not great.
So
like, I've worked for like outsourced support companies before, and like, I mean, if the training they had was anything like mine, it's I'm trying to think of of an adjective that would be. Yeah, I think dismal.
Yeah,
dismal seems about appropriate. Like, I mean, it's one of those things. It's one of those things where, like, and anyone who's worked customer service knows that, like,
oh yeah,
if you have experience with like, you build up like a repertoire of experience.
Yeah,
so like, if you have a low level of experience and you mix that with a low level of training, you're gonna have a bad time and you're gonna cause more problems than you're gonna solve.
Yeah.
Because
The thing about it is, dude, WWE, obviously this is not really their issue. I didn't expect to be talking to someone there. However, a basic understanding of what because the platform itself is quite an ambitious undertaking, but the way they have the app designed, and it is obviously designed to overcome copyright issues and multi-device sharing, it actually does cause a lot of issues on Android devices. So whatever way the locations work, it must create some kind of loopback.
Yeah,
or it's glitched inside the actual.
Knowing why do they need?
Yeah,
like why do they need location services? Because like, look, I'm not being to be funny or anything, but like, sure, like your region locked to, you know, if you're in the UK and Ireland, you have a certain app store or a certain Play Store. If you're in America, you have a certain Play Store. If you're in Canada, you have a certain Play Store. If you're in Germany, your Play Store is specific to your region. This is a known thing that, you know, certain areas have specific Play Stores. Not everyone has the same thing. Like, you can search for certain apps and they'll say they're not available in your region. Like, so I don't understand how it is, how, like, you know, if you download it from a certain area, obviously you're able to get it from that area. Like the weird, like, the location services on. Because what if you're going holiday to a place that doesn't have it? Does that mean you don't get the WWE network?
Well, that's what seems to be the case. And, you know, I tried it with a VPN just to see if that was it. And you know, it was just whatever way it was coded. When it interacts with this tablet, it just absolutely does not work. Now, it works on PS3, no problem. Works on PC, no problem. Works on other tablets, no problem. But, you know, WWE Network, it's not an essential item. It's a luxury item. It's also quite expensive at €13, you know, a month.
About €10 more expensive than Amazon Prime.
Yeah, and Amazon Prime works. Yeah. No matter what, Netflix works, you know, and I'm just like, okay, this is not good, WWE. This is
you know, the only time that Netflix or Amazon Prime don't work for me?
What?
When I have a network issue.
Fair. Fair.
Literally the only time.
But see, here's the thing, like, this wasn't a network issue at all. Like, I tried it with data, I tried it without data. It's literally just a case of whatever way they have it designed, and it's obviously a design feature or bug. It just causes things just to not work. And here's the thing, you can't get a refund from WWE Network.
Yep.
So that's not okay. Now, I know people are like, oh, look, it works on other devices. True, but still, like, you can have a broken product, but you have to have a good customer service to deal with that. You know,
totally.
And these guys do not have a good customer service.
If WWE cared about a customer satisfaction, there's a lot of things they would have changed.
Very, very true. But this shows you, you know, this is something that they probably didn't think. I know they didn't, because they just, you know, bare minimum outsource support. That in the end, eventually, I did talk to someone who actually cared. But how far did I have to go? How many people was I actually talking to? These are all things that you have no way of knowing, and it's like, okay, this is not good. You know, I know first world problems, but still, like, you've worked support, Bryn, I've worked support. You know, I'm just like, this is terrible. This is. You know, I was just thinking, like, if we did this, we'd be, you know, in trouble.
Yeah,
there would be an issue out of this, and it's like, okay, you know, this is problematic of a bigger symptomatic of a bigger problem.
There would be a legitimate investigation into your performance,
and there should be, because, you know, in this case, it did take a very long time to even get the question asked. You know, but anyway, that's my WWE Network story. I don't think I'll be re-upping after WrestleMania, Bryn.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think I will. Yeah. I'm like, you know what? While it's handy to have I can kind of live without it, and I can't even get it on the device I wanted it for. So, yeah, I don't think
as well as that, there's like, I mean, there are plenty of cheaper services that also have wrestling.
There are. Now, to be fair,
much more happy to have your €10 a month.
And you know what? with as bad as TNA was, at least you know they never actively went against the fan base. And I just got in, they just wanted me to go away, and I'm like, okay, this is not something I want to give my money to. And look, guys, here's the thing: vote with your euros, vote with your dollars, vote with whatever money you use. Because that's the only services get better. So,
you know,
yeah, it is what it is. You know, and here's the thing: you know, when this scales out, people buy products based on support and experience, particularly the more enterprise you go, and based on this WWE, you know, hope you don't get bigger than you are, because you're going to run into bigger issues. That's for sure. Anyway, so I do want to bring something up with you, Bryn, before I wrap it. There are two things. The first one is, have you read The Batman Who Laughs yet?
No, not yet.
Do you know what it is?
Nope.
Okay, so last year, Batman released an event called Metal.
Yes.
And it was all different Batmen from the multiverse. And one of them was the Batman Who Laughs. So imagine this super creepy Joker Batman hybrid.
Oh, okay.
And now they've released a mini-series. We're on the third one, I believe. And it's very, very good. I haven't read the third. I'm reading one or two. I think I have to pick up 3, or it's not out this week. It'll be out eventually. It's definitely worth picking up. It's very, very good. Very, very eerie and creepy. And it's written by Scott Snyder, who is my favourite Batman writer next to Grant Morrison.
Yeah.
So definitely, if you're a Batman fan, go pick it up. I would recommend, even if you're not a Batman fan, if you're just into something that's very, very different and out there, totally go for it. It's my comic lock of the week.
Sure, lock of the week.
My lock of the week. Because I actually I didn't have long boxes. Sorry, I've gone through, I have a couple of long boxes. I didn't have any bags and boards. So I had like a rake of comics just going through, and I'm like, and I was going through them, updating my database, and I was just like, I actually have to read these books, because I have like 100 comics which I haven't actually read. So I was reading it last night, and I'm like, this is actually fantastic. And I'm glad that I'm experiencing it week to week, but I kind of hate reading week to week as well, because the same thing happened.
Short read.
Well, the same thing happened with White Knight, you know, from last year, where by the time it was finished, I lost interest and ended up watching a video going through the whole story, because I was like, I lost interest in it. But even though that was a great story too, comics suck sometimes, and that's the way it is.
I'm always a much bigger fan of getting trades personally than reading week to week, just because, like, one, I prefer it as a medium for reading them. I also feel like they're better value for money. But and as well as that, like, I just feel like you get more of like a complete story.
Yes, I agree there 100%.
You know, whereas, like, because I used to, I mean, like, I think what broke me on single issues was Spawn.
Spawn broke many things.
Yeah.
Spawn broke many things.
Yeah, Spawn broke single issues for me, because, like, I just felt like, I remember I had like a run of like essentially like 2 trades, so like 12 issues, and I remember, like, I read them, I was like, oh cool, and you know, like, they'd all have like these like cliffhangers, and then it'd be like, oh, can't wait for the next one, get the next one. And then I remember one day just like reading them all back to back, and we're like, wow, actually nothing happened in these stories that just had cliffhangers.
Yeah,
it's
like when
this actually was not good.
It's like when you used to watch Yu-Gi-Oh. You know, that's why when you go back and watch the series of Yu-Gi-Oh, the dude's gone for 8 episodes, and you're like, nothing's happened.
Yeah,
play the card. You know,
it's the same thing in like a lot of like anime, like hyper serialized anime has that issue more than any other thing in television where it's just like a cliffhanger for the sake of cliffhanger.
Yeah.
You know, you can watch like Yu-Gi-Oh's a really good example, but you can also you can also throw in likes of Pokemon, Digimon,
Pokemon wasn't
Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, Pokemon wasn't so bad. Dragon Ball Z wasn't so bad. Digimon I didn't watch, but Yu-Gi-Oh literally. The duels take so long because they were divulging backstory, they were recapping.
Also explaining rules that don't make any sense.
Explaining deep lore, and you're like, just play the card. You know, just play the card. You know.
Giving you Pot of Greed, despite the fact that everyone has seen this card and it's actually illegal in official. This is what you have to do with Pot of Greed.
And polymerization is like, we know what the card does, Yugi. You play it every day, every duel, every episode. Oh, terrible.
Oh,
no, sorry, the show's great. I love the show. I love the show.
But it's like, it's even that same thing in like, I mean, you know, in Dragon Ball Z, you wouldn't get it in every episode, but basically anytime there was a fight, you could go, is this going to be a case of the fight will last this one episode, or is it going to be a fight that's going to last 2 episodes, or will it be a fight that will last about 10? And like,
just monologuing for the sake of monologuing. It's like,
it's just fighting with reaction shots. Is you know, basically it. Like I remember when Dragon Ball Evolution came out, and people were going like, "Oh, well, it's not accurate to the source material," and I was like, "Well, if it's going to be accurate to the source material, the first film would be basically the villains arriving, and then there'd be 3 films where there would just be fight scenes and reaction shots, and then the last film would just be Goku charging up a spirit bomb with reaction shots, and that's it. That's a whole series of Dragon Ball films. Like nothing ever really happens in them. It's just fighting, you know. And like I love Dragon Ball, but Dragon Ball's really dumb. Like,
oh, it's exceptionally dumb.
You know?
Exceptionally dumb. And it's a show I want to get into more, but I haven't got the will to put up with that just yet. So maybe
the
I will.
Bridge series is really worth it.
Yeah,
like,
and it's the same with Yu-Gi-Oh, you know. But the only problem is when you watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge series, watching the actual show.
Yeah. The one thing I would say is the difference is the one thing I would say, like comparing the Bridge series together, like Yu-Gi-Oh versus Dragon Ball, was that the guy who makes the Yu-Gi-Oh Bridge series, he hasn't made a funny episode in about, I want to say 40 episodes.
Yeah.
Whereas pretty much the whole 60 episodes plus the films that the Abridged guys have done for Dragon Ball are all really, really funny.
Oh, unreal.
You know? Yeah.
Unreal.
Like, I mean, you're talking about, they've done about like 10 films or so, I think. And then they've got like 60 like canon episodes, and it's funny as hell, man. Like, it's really, really good.
I'll have to check that out.
Even if you don't like, if you've never watched Dragon Ball, it's the joke rate is high enough that even if a joke like sails over your head, you're still gonna be laughing a lot.
Fair.
Like, which is, you know, that's all you can say.
I'm gonna give that a watch because I have a bit of time. So I it's been on my list for a while, so I will make it my top priority. Just switching gears a bit, Bryn, before we finish up. Have you heard that new Raspberry Pi is coming out? Raspberry Pi 4 is dropping soon.
Ooh, no, I did not hear this.
Yeah, it's coming out soon. So that's going to be pretty cool. We don't know much about it yet, but that for anyone who doesn't know, Raspberry Pi is a single board computer. You can pretty much do whatever you want with it. It's tiny.
Except turn back time.
Eventually, you put enough of them together. I did find out you can make a supercomputer of Raspberry Pis. That's
a lowercase s.
Yeah, but you still 720. You can, but you can also do.
I'm sure it gets uppercase if you triple that.
You can make clusters though and actually control them using a thing called Linux version. I can't remember. It's gone now. It's not. Batch or wrap or something. Anyway, it is pretty cool, and you can kind of control them in real time. It's called a Raspberry Pi Beowulf cluster for anyone who's interested, and you can run Docker and stuff on them. We've lost half the audience, but assure you, it is pretty cool. One thing that I will actually
one listener.
One thing that I do have to recommend actually on Netflix. I don't know if you had a chance to see it yet. It's the new horror movie with Jake Gyllenhaal in it.
Oh, I wanted to watch it. I haven't had a chance yet.
It's called Velvet Buzzsaw. It's very, very good. Like, it's not really a horror movie as such. I found about it on Twitter. It's more of like a psychological thriller.
Oh, cool.
And the story is that it's based in this really trendy art gallery, and Jake Gyllenhaal is a bisexual art critic, and
cool.
he ends up in a relationship with this girl. This girl finds all this art from this, this random guy in her apartment building and kills himself, and then it ends up that the art is cursed. And it's cool because it follows like the art being cursed, but also follows how toxic their relationship actually is. Where he's going, she ends up going off with someone else. His ex-boyfriend screws everything up. It's very, very interesting. So it has like 3 or 4 different elements to it that make it very, very intriguing. And I really enjoyed it. Now, at the end of it's kind of silly, but it's also really creepy. The cast is very, very good, very, very strong. Definitely worth a watch. It's very, very good. And your one from Hereditary's in it as well. So,
cool.
It seems to have all the hot actors in it now, and it's different. It's very, very different than anything else I've seen this year.
Yeah. I think the last thing I watched on Netflix was the Batman Ninja film.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Really?
Like not even remotely.
Why?
It just overstates its welcome for me.
Fair. I'll give you that. I will give you that.
It's also like, I mean, it starts off as a fun kind of Batman story. There's something like, none of this. They've just shoehorned, they've just massively shoehorned, Batman and his rogues gallery into a standard anime.
Yeah, but that was the point of it, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I just once it got to the point where it's mech fights, it was this is no longer what I want from a Batman ninja.
You see, I went in with the expectation knowing that it was going to be ridiculous.
Yeah,
so it was
if
okay.
It was going to be ridiculous. I would have rather go in the more Bleach than in the direction of something like Bleach rather than
mecha fight.
Yeah, because it was basically it just went in a very Attack on Titan kind of direction, but with mechs.
Well, look at the time. Look at the time that it was out.
Yep.
But man, no. I totally. It's like when we're talking about wrestling, and the way I like Japanese wrestling, and you're more of a fan of lucha. I totally understand. It's just a taste thing, and
totally.
And the choice that they went with is a choice that would upset somebody in a very much the same way. If they had went purely kind of more Bleach, that would have upset a whole other bunch of people.
Oh, totally.
So I get it.
I'm just saying it's more. I would have thought that it would have been more suitable for the Batman character to go in that direction.
Yeah,
because you could actually still have it be in keeping with it rather than going, oh, we're actually just not really having a Batman story here at all now.
Yeah. Well, look, there's certain things that when it interacts with Japanese culture, it becomes a completely different thing. Case in point, look at the Matrix. Look at the Animatrix.
Yep.
A lot of that stuff is crazy.
The Animatrix is supplementary.
It is, but again, this is just Elseworld, man. It's not canon, so it doesn't. It doesn't matter.
But it's I mean, you look at what happened when there was the Spawn anime, and it became supremely horror orientated, much more than the American books are, and to really, really good effect, and I don't know, I think it's possible to, I think it could have been a really cool thing to have a Batman ninja, but I would have just asked for a bit more restraint than what they did.
That might come. It might come again. I wouldn't be willing to throw the baby out with the bathwater just yet. Yeah. But I do totally understand where you're coming from. Yeah. I was just
to me, it's just what they did. They could have literally done to any character and gone see, it makes sense. It's well, why does Spider-Man need giant mech fight?
Why doesn't he need a giant mech fight, Bryn?
Because it's not Power Rangers.
but here's the thing, Spider-Man in the store has a car for some reason, which is this also makes no sense. Why does he need a car?
Yeah.
No, just stop.
It's called merchandising. Merchandising.
I always found it really funny. You know, when you're a kid, or even nowadays, you're walking through the store or whatever, and Spider-Man has a car. It's like the one character who it's like giving Hulk a car. It's like neither one of those characters actually need a vehicle.
But it was like in the Justice League animated series where the Flash had a van.
The Flash is another one. It's like, why?
In the confines of the show, and he's like, and he couldn't even explain it. When like Lantern's like, why do you even need that? And he's like, well, shut up.
I just want it. Okay, everyone else gets one. Why don't I?
Basically.
Yeah. Well, actually, as well. Something really interesting today, speaking of Netflix. So, Bandersnatch. I don't think we talked about Bandersnatch on the podcast. So, for anyone who doesn't know, shame on you if you don't. It's the full-length choose-your-own-adventure movie based in the Black universe. Sorry, the Black Mirror universe. And, yeah, it's something you really have to actually kind of experience to get. Yep. But, you know, and look, if you haven't seen it, all joking aside, it is worth your time. It's a very interesting, unique experience. Exactly, that's what experience. Yeah, but here's what I learned today. I learned that the whole premise of that movie, right, is actually based on old BBC documentaries from the time about Oceansoft.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like, there's a bunch of other things. So it actually takes inspiration from a 1984 documentary from the BBC called Mega Game, right? And or you can even search commercial breaks. Imagine an commercial breaks. Imagine an ocean software documentary. That was very difficult to say, and it's on YouTube now. It's actually pretty cool, and that seems to be the way they ran with it. But also it's apparently touches on MK Ultra and trauma-based mind control. That's interesting. That's a theme of it, and it actually kind of when you pick up some of the endings of it, with the dad being abusive and that kind of stuff, it just kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, no spoilers or anything like that, but there's a lot going on there, and particularly when the PAX option is thrown, that seems to be really about systematic abuse and mind control, which is crazy. It's crazy. But I thought it was a very cool idea to kind of frame it in that way, with that kind of, conspiracy edge topic, while also having this wrapping of a documentary. And I was watching a documentary today, and when you're watching it, you're like, wow, they put so much effort that it actually kind of feels like you're watching Bandersnatch. Like, yeah, it feels like you're watching Bandersnatch, but you're not watching Bandersnatch. It's real life. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, like, I mean, Bandersnatch was it was just a really cool experience, but it's nice to know that it was that there was like a good level of research that went into it like that. But I don't know. For me, when I kind of finished the run of the story I did, I just went, okay, it was an experience. I get that. Like, I mean, even then there were points where we had fun with it. Like, when there was a point where he was having like the main character's having like a mental breakdown, and he's like, "Who are you?" And we said that he was Netflix. So he's just going around going, "What the hell is Netflix?" And like talking with his therapist about it. He's like, yeah, Netflix is like this streaming service, video streaming service, whatever that means, from the future, and people are making me do all of these decisions. And she's like, well, that doesn't really follow. That's stupid, because if this was like, if this was just like a fictional thing, then we'd have to make it interesting, wouldn't we? And then we were like, there's an option between, I guess you're right, that is pretty dumb, or you can go like, no, screw this. Yeah, that we should make it really interesting. And they just he starts having like a full on fist fight with his therapist, and it's awesome.
Like, before I saw that article that was kind of breaking it down, I liked it basically based on that premise as well. But the attention to detail and kind of the more Black Mirror it becomes, the more interesting it becomes for me personally. Yeah. But my only fear about this, Bryn, is that people start thinking, oh, this it was popular because they get to choose your own adventure, and then we end up with a load of shows like this, and that's not what anyone wants.
Yeah, well, I think, I think it's a very unique thing, and I don't see, like, as well as that, I'm not sure if it's not really something that any like TV network can really do. So the only places where you would see it become an option would be it's like streaming competitors. So you're talking pretty much Prime and pretty much YouTube, and that's it. And YouTube up until recently was able to support that kind of thing, but then they got rid of the annotations, so they can't even do that anymore. So
they're also talking about getting rid of the dislike button as well.
Yeah, totally. Which is dumb.
Yeah, that's a good.
Like,
I don't know.
But they're talking about getting rid of the dislike button because corporations don't like it.
Yeah,
like it really is. It's like it's really, really a case, because the only time that dislikes ever come up as being a noteworthy thing is always when it's an advertisement for
something.
For something you talk about, like, we talked about it before, Battlefront, but like, I mean, the Call of Duty had it. Certain kinds of films had, like the Ghostbusters film had it, and like I mean, it's such a strange thing. It's such a strange thing to just like go, well, we're going to get rid of it. And it's like, it's very strange how we're getting to this point where like corporations where it seems really clear the corporations think that they should be able to just like influence how we think and how we feel.
Well, YouTube is kind of the plan is apparently for it to become like a TV station. That they're cancelling a lot of their conspiracy stuff, which is the fun side of YouTube, and it's like, okay, you're gonna kill that platform, so.
Yeah, well, it's so strange because they're going to get rid of that portion of the platform, but they're going to keep up the really creepy kids videos.
Yeah, that for me, that's a bigger issue.
I
don't know.
It's such a strange, like, I mean, the way that YouTube is run and stuff is just so bizarre because, like, Google haven't been able to make money off YouTube since they bought it.
Yeah, but this doesn't help things.
No.
This doesn't help things. And there are competitors that they have their own problems. But at the end of the day, it's like the reason why YouTube was successful is because it was different. The reason why people like certain things is because they're unique.
The reason why, like, the reality is the reason why YouTube was initially a success is because, like, it's kind of like the best way to explain it. It was, do you remember what it was like to use search engines before Google came around?
Yep.
And it sucked.
Yep.
And then Google came around and you're like, oh, this is just much better.
Yep.
This is much better than anything that's came before. And YouTube was like that for video streaming, where it was just much better. Like, there was literally, they were going like, well, they could use, like, there was, like, Yahoo had a video service and it was awful. There was, I think, like, Meta Cafe or something. It was absolutely terrible. And then there was YouTube, which was great because its UI was simple and you could tell there was buffering and stuff. And it was awesome. And then it got bought by Google and it became better in some ways and worse in a lot of ways. The comment section got worse and then it got better. And now it's just depressing. Like... But I mean, it's at least like the comment section actually like functions as a comment section now. I remember there was a period about 10 years ago where you could literally reply to someone and it would show up as its own individual comment, and people wouldn't have any idea what you're talking about.
And it's just, I don't know. It's kind of sad to see, but censorship and removal are something that we're kind of seeing more and more, particularly since 2016. Where the internet became a very scary place all of a sudden.
Well, I mean,
for example, sorry, Brent, but for example, I've seen something that I never thought I'd see, where content is region locked on YouTube.
Dude, content has been region locked since 2006.
No. I mean, region locked to an extent that you can't see it in Ireland, but you can see it in Europe. You can see it in the UK.
That's always been the case. That's literally always been true.
It's weird. It's weird.
Always been true.
But it's not for commercial reasons. It's more for political reasons.
Yep.
Silencing political dissent. And this is what we've talked about with Article 13 and Article 11, where if that goes one step further, where you can just upload, where everything you upload is automatically filtered, that's really scary. Now, luckily, that was defeated. So Article 13 and Article 11 have been defeated.
Yeah.
Which is great.
For now.
Which is for now, exactly. But it doesn't mean they're not going to come back around. And when it does come back around, we'll let you know. But man, a whole new world, like brave new world, 1984.
Yeah.
You know.
But it's one of those things where, like, I think, you see, I do think I have a good bit of optimism about it, because it does seem like we're kind of, like, Web 1.0 was a really long slog and then a really quick death.
Yeah.
And then Web 2.0 kind of kicked off early 2000s. Like, Web 1.0, for what people who don't know, like, Web 1.0 was basically like a 30-year period where it went from being the like colleges and DARPA to becoming like the beginning of the World Wide Web in the mid 80s
and 90s. Yeah.
And then there was the .com crash, which is like the bookend of Web 1.0. And then, like, you know, then Web 2.0 is kind of like described as like being in full throttle by 2003. That's right around the time when Google just kind of became ubiquitous with searches. And you started seeing like Friendster and Bebo and MySpace show up, and social media became this emergent term. And that's kind of where we've been for now. But we're seeing, like, so Facebook is on the way out.
It is. By the day.
Yeah, Facebook's on the way out. Google is on the way out. Which is, it's such a weird thing, because like Google, like with Facebook, it's a case of like people have kind of just decided that they want to separate out their streams for discussion. People have just kind of hit this thing of going, well, I only really want to have photos on Instagram, and I only really want to like discuss things on Twitter, and I only really want to do, you know, specific tasks, and they want to kind of like separate that stuff out rather than having everything be in one convenient platform, which is what Facebook was really banking on. And
well, now you have other stuff like you mentioned Instagram, but I mean like TikTok, which is the big one.
TikTok is like TikTok. It's too early to tell what that's going to be.
But then Snapchat as well.
Well, yeah, but like Snapchat's on its way out too. Like Snapchat was hot, but it's not as hot now as it was about a year ago.
Yeah, but it's weird, man. Like, you know,
and like,
again,
TikTok might be something big in the near future.
But see, it will never be
another Snapchat.
Well, it'll never be big for us because we're Zoomers. Yeah, never big for our parents because they're Boomers.
Yep.
You know, it'll be its own thing. I don't think there'll be another social networking site that has the reach of Facebook.
Oh no, but like Facebook's kind of going to just be that, you know, it's going to be
legacy,
a behemoth in the, you know, like almost like have like a fable about it, you know.
Yeah, it's like I don't think Facebook's going anywhere, but I think its user base will drop quite significantly. Active user base, everybody just have one. It'll just be like a thing. It's like the way every adult over a certain age has a LinkedIn account. It's just what you have. But as far as being an active place, I don't see that. I can see that.
Totally.
Yeah.
But it's like, I mean, then you have, it's what's weird is like Google doesn't have that problem because you don't really have people being like, because like, I mean, you don't really have that many people who go that you get people going like, I will never use Facebook again. Yeah, you don't really see people being like, I'm never going to use Google again.
Well, my question to that would be, how are you never going to use Google again? you'd have to really, really, really try actively. So no Android phones.
Yeah.
No Google supported platforms.
Yeah.
No Gmail, no YouTube, no, the list goes on and on.
It's interesting because there are some really good articles that are coming out if you want to search for them on the different things you can use. Like
True, there are.
Proton Mail apparently is the best mail service outside of Gmail. That's for free. And then there's also then you have stuff like Mega and Dropbox, which are good competitors to Google Drive. For search engines, you've got the likes of Quant, DuckDuckGo, and a good few others. And then video, for casual video streaming, it's really hard to beat YouTube. It's really, really hard.
Minds is quite good. BitChute's quite good. BitChute's torrent based. Your Daily Motion, but
Daily Motion's kind of bad though.
Daily Motion is always bad. It's still stuck in 2005. BitChute has a lot of potential because it's torrent based. So it's kind of like on the blockchain.
Yeah. And Vimeo is really good, but it's also
Vimeo's okay.
Vimeo has really tried to push itself into a niche thing of being. It's not really somewhere where you would post or video essays, but it is a place where you'd put your creative works.
Well, here's the thing, dude. Right? So streamers. So I watch a lot of streamers. Do podcasts and stuff, and streaming on YouTube has a lot of problems. So there's new platforms like Streamy and stuff, but the money that they would make there actually isn't anything close to what they'd make with YouTube. So it's kind of like,
if they stuck with it, it's really hard to know where the audience is going to go. Some people are saying, well, Twitch is probably the new place.
Yeah, Twitch is great. Big fan
and we'll
of Twitch.
have to wait and see what happens with Twitch. But I don't think Twitch is a flavor of the month. I think it's because I remember way back when, because I used to use a lot of live streaming platforms, just casually, Justin.tv and Ustream.
That was Twitch.
Yeah. And Justin was my favorite because people could just create user created channels and then just have them be whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
And there's one guy who would basically stream every episode of South Park ever and just dump them one after the other. There was another guy who would do Justice League cartoons one after the other, and then loads of stuff like that. And it's just great for kind of having a passive thing on in the background while you play games or whatever. And obviously for copyright, that's they kind of got screwed around, but they should, because it's it's piracy. But when it comes to, it's cool to see that live streaming is kind of hitting a really good stride now, and especially with something like Twitch, it's really cool to see it hitting a stride.
Yeah,
but it'll be interesting to see because that it's something like Twitch seems like it's going to be the next generation of video streaming for populist video streaming, where that's probably where things are going to go. Because I can't honestly, the way that YouTube's going and the way that it keeps making moves that just people, because the reality is if you're interested in conspiracy theories, even just from the thing of going as a hobby, it's a fun thing to learn about, in the same way that it's fun to learn about serial killers. If and YouTube's gone, well, you can't do this here, guess what, this is a opportunity for something like Daily Motion to just really allow those floodgates to open. And they'll get a whole bunch of traffic.
Supply and demand. At the end of the day, it's a gap in the market. Someone goes in.
Yeah.
And then, and it's for me, I don't understand why they do that. I don't understand why they do a lot of things that they're doing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they're a multi-million corporation that are losing money. So it's up to them. Fix their own problems.
But I think when it comes to conspiracy stuff, it's it could be a case of them going, well, we have a social responsibility because of how big the platform is to not spread misinformation. And like if that's what they're doing, congratulations on doing it in the worst possible way. You know,
Like personally, I believe that all ideas should be out in the open, because bad ideas get made fun of and then they go away.
yeah. Well, you say that, but flat Earth is not going anywhere.
Yeah, but everybody
So-
makes fun of that, and it's hilarious.
But
Yeah,
it's not going anywhere.
yeah,
So
but
it's
come
like,
on, man.
You make fun of it. Like, I mean, it's the same thing as like, you know, saying, well, you can make fun of the Westboro Baptist Church. It's like, yeah, but that's not going to make them go anywhere.
Yeah, but it's just not going to make them grow anyway. You know what I mean? It's like no one's because
But it's not an organization that's trying to grow. It's made up of like family members.
yeah, well, you know what? Then just let them be. Do their crazy.
Like, but it's one of those things where, like, you know, there's one way to handle it, and then there's one way to handle it that's probably going to be the best way to do it, and then there's like a ton of ways that are like just bad. Like, I mean, in general, like history shows that like prohibiting people from doing what they're gonna do anyway
Just makes it worse.
just makes things worse. You know, like, I mean, the reality is, like, you know, not to get like too political, but like you look at countries where the likes of like drugs are legalized, and they have way less of an issue with things like addiction. You know,
Same with alcoholism. Same with alcoholism.
yeah, totally. You know, these things. I mean, like, alcoholism is worse in places where it's like there's a more serious issue where it's banned, because you know, like when it comes down to it, it's usually the worst possible people that are in the situation of going, well, this is how I'm going to make money for myself. You know, like, very rare you find a good, honorable person who's like, you know what I'm going to do for an honest living? I'm going to cut and make cocaine. Like, they're like, no, I'll find some other way to make money. Thanks.
And I think,
You know,
I think on that point, we're going to wrap up, Bryn. What a way to end the podcast. But speaking of our Internet 2.0 or 1.0 discussion, did you know that today, the 7th of February, was the first recorded incident of a DDoS attack?
Ooh,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Do you want to know who was the victim? Or, sorry, of a DOS attack. Not even DDoS.
Oh, I don't know who the victim was. But
It was Yahoo.
Huh.
Yahoo was the first known DOS attack managed to shut down the site for 1 hour in 2000. There you go. Crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's the fact of the day, guys. But Bryn, I want to thank you so much for joining me this week, as always, and apologies to people on Twitch who were joining us and then the stream completely died. So apologies on that. We will get the bug sorted out going forward. But Bryn, how can the good people get in contact with you?
So they can contact me. Best is usually over Twitter. So you can get me there at cast_Bryn_cast. And yeah, I mean, that's probably the easiest way to reach me. In terms of general plugs, I don't think I have any for this week, because my mind is a little bit blank and a little bit fuzzy, and I could probably do with a nap. But yeah, that'll probably do it for me, I think. Have.
Alright, guys, and my plug is going to be our website, nerdtoknowmedia.com, where you can find all of our past shows, or links to them anyway, on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, everywhere podcasts are available. You can check us out live if you, live pre-taped on Saturday at 5 p.m. And we do stream on Twitch, not only this podcast, but also video games. Nerd Ducks is where you can check that out. So Nerd DUX is the platform there on Twitch. And my Twitter is @DarragWV, DARRAGHWV. So until next week, this is Nerd to Know Basis here on Phoenix 92.5 FM and Nerd to Know Media. We'll talk to you then.
Bye.